it's Yomi here. So today I'm going to be doing my October wrap-up. Now what's funny about this October wrap-up is that I actually did an October TBR. We're gonna see how much I read or actually chose from that TBR because it didn't go quite well. So let's just get into the books that I read for the month of October. Okay, so the first book that I managed to accomplish in the month of October was one that I actually started in the month of September, and that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. It was through audio format, but I just loved the characters so much. And for a character-driven reader, this book was just so immersive. Like, Lou and Reed were characters that I fell in love with because we got a deeper sense of their connection. Lou was really snarky and sassy, and I just loved her attitude. She made me laugh so many times, like so many times. It was just such an amazing aspect to read about her. And there were some things that were happening to her that I was always saying, like, how the hell are you gonna explain this? Because like there's no way that I can actually see that you're gonna explain this and actually get out of it unscathed, you know. But I really did enjoy also Reed because we got to know more from him as a character, and basically also, you know, being ingrained with a specific format and how you visualize things, and basically seeing also other things through another light, and actually this shaping the way you think about things or the way women are presented to you was something that I really did enjoy from Reed, because he got to see a different perspective through Lou's eyes, and I just loved their chemistry so freaking much. And for somebody who doesn't really enjoy that much hate to love, I really did enjoy this one because I like it for it to be like a little bit slow and not for it to be too intense of a hate to love. But this one was one that I really rooted for because, like I said, I enjoyed the characters and they were so immersive. And also Coco was another character that I was just like, oh my god, I love her so freaking much, you know. But I really did love the fact that Serpent and Dove dealt with witches, and that they were really wicked witches, and the fact that these witches wanted to claim back what was taken from them, because the oppression is towards the witches. And we have these sort of witch hunters, but it's more of a religious aspect to them. It did remind me a lot of the one where Vin Diesel comes out in. I think it's called The Witch Hunter. It reminded me a lot of that one because it has that coven of, you know, them trying to kill witches and these witches being really wicked. And it was something that I really did enjoy. Like, honestly, like, I do know that Serpent and Dove does have polarized reviews, but I would actually say for you to look into the trigger warnings and actually read it and you decide for yourself, because I do want to reread it so I can actually like pick up on these things that I have heard from other people. But I for one really did enjoy the story as a whole, and I honestly do not think that Serpent and Dove is a YA book, just because of the mature content in it and also the way that it is written. I'm not saying that, you know, YA cannot be written in the way that Serpent and Dove was written, but there are a lot of things that are really really explicit, which was something that was really odd for me for it to be sold or pitched as YA, which is something that I find really odd. But I really did enjoy the writing, the characters, just everything per se. I would say that near towards the end there's an aspect where things start to change and whatnot, and I'm just like, what's happening here? But overall I enjoyed everything about it, and I cannot wait to actually reread it and like pick up on these little things, like I said, because it was just a great story to read. So the next book that I managed to pick up for the month of October was Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. This was one that took me a while just because I had a lot of things going on, but I'm really glad that I actually reread Our Dark Duet. I ended up raising it a 0.5 stars. I ended up giving it 4.5 because I had given it previously 4, but I gave it that extra half a star just because I understood this book a lot more on my reread than I actually did on the first time that I read it. Because the first time that I read it, I had a lot of questions, I had a lot of doubts, and I was really annoyed by a lot of things that happened in this book. And on my reread, I picked up a lot more of these little aspects that are being woven into the story. So I understood where the romance came from. I understood at least a semblance of why was it that there was this certain connection between Kate and this other thing, jig in the story. And August, like, even though I do think that it does lack a lot of August perspectives, just because I love August as a character, I think he's just such a sweet Cinnabon, and him trying to like fight with the things that are happening inside his mind and actually not trying to care, and trying to like escape from his mind, you know. He just wants to escape the things that are happening and also just escape the thoughts that he is thinking about. So it was really intriguing to actually like go back and reread it, but I was getting a little bit annoyed because of that, because I wanted a lot more August than I did want of Kate, because there comes a moment where I was just like, oh, another Kate chapter. But like I said, I understood a lot more where was it that Kate was coming from, and just everything that was happening in the story, and also the new monsters that are introduced, which is something that I really did enjoy about this story. And also Sorrow, how is it that they are introduced into the story, was another thing that I really did enjoy, because I picked up a little bit more on them as a whole. So overall, it was a great story. I'm not mad at anything, at the way things happened or the way things turned out, but it was just a great story to reread. And also, again, like I said, where was it that everything came from? And I would generally love another story in this one, because it left off on that, like, it can continue, you know, without skipping a heartbeat. But yeah, it was great. I enjoyed the characters. It's action packed, it is a page turner, and I was just completely even more immersed or engrossed into these characters and into this story. Next book that I managed to pick up was Crown of Feathers by Nikki Pao Preto. I gave that one 5 out of 5 glorious stars. I started that book in audio format and I quickly changed it to e-format, just because it was such an immersive and incredible and wonderful read. Like, I fell in love with these characters. I fell in love with the world building. I fell in love with the fact that we have Phoenix Riders, and the fact that we have animages that can bond with animals. So I was just freaking out. I was geeking out, because everything was just so immersive and so incredible. And I'm a sucker for world building, especially when you give me maps and when you give like these sort of scripts that deal with the background of the world, or you know, what happened in the queendoms in the past. It was just such an incredible story, and I love it when world building is told through that format, instead of it having footnotes. We're not gonna get into that, but anywho, but I really did enjoy this book like so freaking much. Like, the characters were so immersive, the world building was incredible, the magic system was just, oh my god, I loved it so freaking much. Like, you can tell I enjoyed it because I'm gushing about it. But if you don't know anything about Crown of Feathers, it's roughly where we have Phoenix Riders, and they have the ability to bond with animals, because they are called animages, and these people bond with animals, but they roughly always bond with Phoenix. Unfortunately, there was something that's called a blood war, and it roughly separated the Phoenix Riders from the Empire. So they are sought out, and if you have a Phoenix, the Phoenix is killed, and the animages are bonded, or yeah, they're bonded. So, you know, they're basically have become slaves to the Empire just because of this blood war. It caused a lot of trouble for them, so they eventually drifted apart. But you know, the story is so incredible because you follow Victoria, and Victoria is an animage. The problem is that, you know, she wants to be a Phoenix Rider. So there is this undercover Phoenix Riders compound, and she decides to infiltrate it. So the only problem is that they only accept boys, which that's another thing that I can, you know, nitpick with. But they only accept boys, and she decides to obviously become a boy. But we also follow another perspective of a Phoenix Rider within the camp, and he's trying to be what his father wants him to be, but there's a lot of things that go on in there. He is introduced as a little bit of a douche in the beginning, like somewhat privileged, but then you get to know a little bit more about him, and I was rooting for him in the end, and just everything about it, because we got to know a lot more about him and why is it that he, you know, wants to be the way that he is. And we also got another perspective that I was just at times were like, where is this perspective leading to? Because you actually didn't feel that it was actually leading to anywhere, because there were moments that they intertwined, and then you understand why is it that it means something, because in the end it does mean a lot more. But I really did enjoy Victoria's perspective also. But there was one thing that I really didn't enjoy, like the fact that, you know, she was, you know, infiltrating the camp as, you know, a boy, and there were sometimes I was just like, woman, get yourself under control, honestly, because it's like, okay, that's enough. But you know, I can't blame her for that. But I really did enjoy everything about her. I hated Victoria's sister, and Victoria, I think I just changed her name. It's not Victoria, it's Veronica. But yeah, it's okay. Let me look at my at Goodreads, because I have it here on Goodreads. Yeah, Veronica, sorry, I just changed her name. But I did not like Veronica's sister, because she's a cold-hearted biatch. My goodness. But okay, we're not gonna get into that. But the story has so many plot twists and turns, so many revelations, and that ending, oh my heaven and lord, oh my god, that ending was just so freaking incredible. Like, I honestly thought that the ending was gonna be at the end of me, because there were so many things happening. I thought that these characters were gonna die, because everything was just, the odds were standing up against them. They were just piling up, and I was just like, what else is gonna happen? There were also really interesting side characters that were given in the story, and I really want to know if they're going to continue to be introduced in the next book. But honestly, everything was just so great, and I can't wait for the next book because it ended on that somewhat of a cliffhanger, especially with that ultimate revelation that was given. But it was just such an incredible story. Like, for me, honestly, it was top notch because it was so immersive, and I just really fell in love with everything about it. So I cannot wait to pick up the next installment. Then I decided to participate in my first readathon for the month, and that was in the Spookathon, and I actually failed that readathon. At least I participated, you know. I managed to read 2 books throughout that readathon. The first one that I read was through audio format, and that was 5 Midnights by Anne Davila Cardinal. I have a lot of issues with that book. Bear in mind that I'm not the intended audience for that book, but there were so many things that really did annoy me, especially when it dealt with it being situated in my island. The setting is Puerto Rico, I live in Puerto Rico, and there were so many things that were far-fetched. There were so many things that I was just like, do I live in an alternate Puerto Rico that I have no idea where it's at? And trust me, I understand that people who live in the States who have difficulty coming to Puerto Rico, they're gonna see this book and actually find it comforting and also find it homey because it's there. Like, the essence of the fact of our food, especially our traditional food, which I think that was top notch. The fact that the descriptions, especially of San Juan, which was basically the only place where, you know, the action took place, it was really great. You know, I have to admit that I was very well done. Also, the take on El Cuco was something that I really also did enjoy. So it was, all these little 3 things were well done. I cannot take that away from the author, but everything else was just wrong, completely wrong, and I just hated it from beginning to end. I thought that the Spanish being woven into the story was just mentioned as an afterthought, like, let me just include it just to include it. And I live here, I do speak English, but this is a Spanish speaking community, not a Spanglish nor an English speaking community, and it was just something that was really aggravating for me. Also, like, the fact or the take on femininity, I thought that it was just so rude, so harsh. It was just mean, and I did not like the way femininity was viewed. And always the main character would be like trying to be all powerful and fierce and be like, well, didn't they know about femininity? And I'm just like, well, if you're gonna be that rude, that I don't even want to be around you, you know. There were also characters that I didn't connect with any of them. I could have cared less for any of them, and I ended up listening to it at 2.75 just to finish the audiobook because I was like, I'm done. I want to finish this because I cannot continue with it. Also, the fact that the main character would always say, oh, I want to look Puerto Rican, or oh, now I'm Puerto Rican because I'm eating this, and I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, is there a way a Puerto Rican is supposed to look like? We all come in different colors, different shapes. Our skin types are completely different in every single one of us, and I was just really annoyed by that. And also, like, why was it that every single Puerto Rican hated Americans? Like, what's happening here? Like, it was just really, it was really out there, and I don't agree with any of it, and I was just really hurt by a lot of things. And also, I just did not like it. It was nothing that really immersed me in the story, and like I said, I didn't enjoy the writing. And again, I understand I'm not the target audience, but just a lot of things weren't portrayed right, and I have to nitpick on those things because it was bad in my eyes. It was just bad, and I'm sorry for that, but you know, I can't. Leave my review down below so you can actually just take it with a grain of salt, honestly, and you know, eventually give it a shot, because I know that eventually other people might like it or might enjoy it. I'm not gonna be here and say like you shouldn't read it. Of course, give it a shot, and hopefully I hope that you end up enjoying it. Another book that I managed to pick up for that readathon was Ghostly Echoes, and oh my god, by William Reader. This is 5 out of 5 stars. I love this book so freaking much. This is the 3rd installment in the series, and I just loved Jacoby a lot more in this one. And this, if you don't know anything about the Jacoby series, it's roughly that you follow an eccentric detective, and he is also with his sidekick known as Abigail Rook, and they investigate the supernatural, the paranormal, things that people don't really want to believe or actually associate with. And this is set in Europe in roughly like the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But the characters are just so wonderful to read about, and I love the fact that you don't have the main character falling in love with the other main character. You know, they're just separated. Jacoby is is aloof. He's in his own little world. What I loved about this one a lot more was that we got so much from Jacoby, his backstory, his name, and what is it that it actually might hint to, because there were a lot of things that were like, I'm like, wait, isn't that his name? But I really did love learning about his backstory, and just everything about him was just so sweet. And also learning more about him being a seer and what is it that these ultimate bad guys want, and everything was, oh my god, I love this book so freaking much. I honestly, like, the plot twists and turns that are happening were just, I couldn't see them coming, honestly. And we also got a lot more from Jenny, which is the Spectre. I love getting a lot more from her. I also liked how is it that everything is intertwining with each other, and how is it that we're getting more from these aspects and actually going back and be like, oh, now we know where that's from, and then like, oh, okay, this is where that's from. So everything that has been played out, like these minor little subplots that have been given, eventually have formed a greater picture, especially in this one. I also love where was it that they went to, because they went to this alternate sort of underworld. I really did enjoy that take on it, and how is it that it's visualized. I'm just really intrigued as to see what else is it that's gonna happen next. But this was so great. It was immersive. I love the characters so freaking much, and like I said, we got more from these characters, which was even more immersive for me, and I just cannot wait to see what else happens. And I love Jacoby. There were some moments that I was like, oh no, 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 no. If something happens to Jacoby, I swear I will riot. What I'm gonna do. But it was just like, I was on pins and needles, because I was just like, I don't want anything happening to him. I don't want anything happening to him, honestly. But it was so entertaining. I love these characters so freaking much. So I'm really, really intrigued to see what else happens. And I hope that nothing bad happens to Jacoby or to Abigail, nor to Charlie. I can't have anything happening to them. I just can't. They're just such great characters. For all the books that I managed to pick up for Spookathon, I wanted to pick up the next one that I'm going to say, but just unfortunately Spookathon ended, and I decided to continue with it, and that is Pitch Dark by Corley Alameda. Oh my god, I freaking enjoyed this book so freaking much. I gave it 4.5 to 5 stars. I was deciding on giving it 4 stars, but then when I read the author's notes, it was 4.5, because I understood why was that this author pulled the book, why was it that certain things changed this book, and this book was just so incredible, and with the issues that it dealt with, and also the characters as to how diverse they were, and I just simply loved everything about it. We do follow 2 perspectives in Pitch Dark. We follow Laura's perspective and Tuck. Laura is from a family of archaeologists. They are known as ship raiders, and Tuck is a part of the John Muir. If you don't know anything about Pitch Dark follows a spaceship called John Muir, and here this spaceship houses one of the Earth's landmarks. The problem is that Earth has roughly become sort of extinct. It cannot keep human race alive anymore, so they are trying to terraform Mars. The problem is that they need certain little samples in order to be able to terraform Mars, because an organization, which I'm not going to say the name of, has roughly poisoned the Earth, so they want to eradicate the human race. The problem is that we have these ship raiders, and they discover the John Muir, that it is alive. It has people that are breathing. So far they're breathing. The problem with the John Muir is that people that have been in stasis, one, they've woken up sort of okay. Others have awoken up in a sort of a creature kind of format. They have roughly adapted into something else, especially through all those years being in stasis, and certain little chemicals that were pumped into their body, and certain chemicals that they were exposed to in stasis. It kind of but kind of mutated their body, so they have become these creatures. There are different creatures that are mentioned in the story, and the creatures are described incredibly. Like, I have to admit that the creatures are just like, ooh, nasty, but they're just so well described. I have to admit that for the author, I love the way she described the monsters or the creatures, and how the things in the ship are being described, especially all these little scientific things that I was just like, these things are going over my head, because I was just like, what are you talking about here? Because I have no idea what you're talking about. But in my eyes, after I read it, I was like, wow, this is just incredible. Tuck has this little carefree sass, sort of, I don't give a crap about anything, but yet he's a sweet boy underneath. You know, he has this demeanor that is just like, I don't care about anybody, but deep down he does. And it's just like, oh, I loved reading about him, because there are also some aspects, especially from Laura, that's like, I don't need you to take care of me because I can fight my own battles. I'm just like, oh, here we go again. But then we understand why is it that Tuck is doing certain things, and I was just like, woman, you have no idea, you have no idea. You need to be immersed into his mind in order to understand where is it that he's coming from. What I would say that I really had issues with in this book is the fact that we are given the description of the characters, the essential characters, the main characters' descriptions, physical descriptions are roughly given 100+ pages into the story, and I was just really annoyed by that, because I was like, I have more physical attributes from side characters than I do from the main characters. Heck, just make them describe themselves, look at themselves in a mirror and give me that info, because like I said, I am a character driven reader, so I need to form mental picture or mental image of these characters, and it was given to me roughly around page 100 and something, and I already had formed a mental image of myself for them, so having to change that in my mind, I was just like fudge. But also their age. Also, another thing that was given roughly around 200 and something, because it did mention in one point that that he was older than her, but I'm here thinking that she's 20 something, he's 24, especially the way that they carry themselves, because Laura is described as being this prodigy, and I'm not saying that prodigies don't exist nowadays, but the way that she was mentioned, hell, we're 24, 35, people do adapt and change, you know, so hell, this could happen in the future. But it was just like, it was too much. And I was just like, that's way too much. So the way that they carried themselves and the way that they presented themselves, I honestly thought they were in their 20-somethings. And I do know that the synopsis does say that in their teens, but I was just like, not for me, honestly. But I did enjoy their interaction. How is it that they work together in order to try and save the John Muir? But everything about this book was so wonderful. Like, I would say just that if I have to nitpick, it has to be with that. Also, I wanted to know a little bit more about the organization. Something that was just left drifting. So there's a pun in there intended. But also Laura is introduced as what I think, you know, in the beginning was Mexican American or Mexican, you know, being a Latin heritage, and I think that it was well done. Like, her Spanish being woven into the story was just amazing. I thought it was part of the story. I really did like it. The only thing I would nitpick is on that, just because she's being introduced as being, you know, from a certain sector doesn't mean that I have to instantly create a mental image of that person in my mind. No, you know, just give it to me. Just give it to me from the get-go, you know. But, you know, like I said, I did change my thoughts about giving it that extra 0.5 star rating, just because the author notes were freaking incredible. Like, oh my god, it was just so amazing. Why was it that this book was pulled an extra year, and why is it that certain things changed, and why is it that others were giving a lot more importance? So I have to applaud the author for that, and I was just immersed. I was hooked. I enjoyed it so freaking much, and I honestly heard from someone that this was such a really bad book, and I was just like, I'm scared now. But I read it because I was so excited for it, and then, you know, my excitement kind of dwindled. But oh my god, this is so freaking good. One of the, like I said, one of the reasons, I don't remember if I even said this, where is this synopsis or my review leading to? One of the reasons that I loved Tuck's perspective a lot more was because there were so many movie references to the 80s and 90s movies. There were also some references to 60s movies or 60s band members and stuff like that. I was just like, I don't know about that. But like the references to 80s movies and 90s movies, I was just like, oh my god, I love this so freaking much. So yeah, I did enjoy Tuck's perspective more than Laura's, but it's just because of that, because of the way he carried himself. But yeah, great read, highly recommend, and I can't wait to pick up more books from Corley and Ameta, because I really did enjoy this one. For me, it's funny that I actually did an October TBR, because these are all the books that I read in the month of October. Were any of them part of my TBR? Pitch Dark was. That's really roughly all the ones that were in my October TBR. Another one that I did include in my October TBR was The Wicked Deep by Shia Earnshaw. I managed to DNF this at page 16. So yeah, it's a beautiful cover, beautiful under the dust jacket also, but the story per se wasn't immersive. I didn't like where it was leading, so I was just like, you know what, I don't have the mindset for this, so I'm just gonna DNF it, and hopefully maybe eventually one day I'll pick it up, but as of right now I have zero to no interest in picking it up. And as to the other books that I mentioned in that TBR, I didn't read any of them, I didn't pick up any of them. I had the intent to picking them up. Did I actually do that? As you can tell, no I didn't. Okay, so that's it for all the books that I read for the month of October. If I would have to choose which was my favorite, I honestly can't. I'm very undecisive. I can never choose one book, but I can rank them. If I would choose, my first one would definitely be Crown of Feathers because it was just such a great read. The second one would definitely be Ghostly Echoes because Jacoby, and I love him so freaking much. And the third one would definitely have to be Pitch Dark because it gripped me from the beginning. I did not know it was going to be a surprise read, and I really did enjoy that one. So yeah, those are all the books that I read for the month of October. If you want to tell me which was your favorite read, then feel free and let me know, and we'll chit chat down below. But I want to say thank you for watching. Hope that you have a wonderful day and or night, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.